Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we have a brand new G87 M2, but it's not any M2, it's actually our new project car. I've had many M cars and I really love the F87 M2 that we did a huge build on, and I'm really excited to get my teeth into this one. In this video we're going to take a look around, look at the design, take it for a drive and give you my initial impressions. Let's start by looking at the design of the car. BMW M have been producing some very controversial designs and this is no exception. I've used the word already once and I'll probably use it again, but it's just very aggressive and actually quite brutal. It's very squared off. Some people will be happy that it's not using the full length grills like on the G82. These are slightly smaller and it has horizontal slats instead of traditional vertical ones. They've pulled some design elements from some of the older cars. When I did the review on the M240i, I did say the design elements from the 2002 were in the headlights and you can see them on here. The ducts are very aggressive. The whole car just gives off that whole vibe of 80s rally car. There's not much more to say about it. It's very wide, it's very square, and it's not beautiful in the traditional sense, and I think it lends itself well to modifications. The one thing I don't like on the front bumper so much is this bit being all black. We have photoshopped body color on that and it actually looks better and ties the front in together. Side profile of the car is traditional BMW, 3-box design, Hofmeister kink and M mirrors that we're now accustomed to. This car really is wide and that's accentuated by the Brooklyn grey colour and the fact that the side skirts actually have to come out underneath the door to match up with the arches front and rear. To me, it reminds me of the E30 M3. When that car first came out, I was probably around 10 years old and it looked absolutely massive to me, and the blistered flared arches just gave that DNA of motorsport. And it does the same for this car. It does remind me of those times when I saw E30 M3 for the first time and I was like, what is that car? It's just so wide and aggressive. Coming around to the rear of the car, the theme of the width continues. You can see its blistered arches from the rear, carries on through the bumper. And for me, this is probably the most awkward angle of the car. It's super blocky. A lot of people have been referring to it as Lego, but I think it just needs a few changes to the rear of the car to make it look a little bit better. Maybe an under diffuser and a rear wing. Once the car is also lowered and the wheels are spaced out, I think it's going to look better overall. Most of the modern M cars just sit too high, the wheels are spaced in too far, and once you lower them and put an aggressive set of wheels or space them out, they start looking 100 times better. The interior is a massive upgrade over the F87 M2 because it's effectively the same as a G82 M4. So when I'm driving this car, I feel like I'm in the M4. We spec the M racetrack pack, so we have the carbon roof, which is nice. We didn't have to cut the roof off like we did on our F87 M2. Has a carbon buckets, which I really like. They might be a little bit difficult to get in and out of, but once you're in them, they're super supportive and comfortable. And it also has carbon trim. This car has the ID8 iDrive, which I really like. The only thing I don't like is the climate controls, but once you're used to it, I think it's better than the previous generation. But what you want to know is, what is this like to drive? Let's jump in and find out. So, what is it like to drive? It's actually a lot of fun. I was slightly concerned because the F87 M2 was such a fantastic car, and if you've been following our journey, you would have seen that we bought one new in 2016, and we still have that car. I've done 20,000 miles in it. It is now very heavily modified and made to the exact specification that I wanted it, but I absolutely love that car and it's probably one of my favorite cars in the collection. And when that car first came out and I drove it, I did say that it was the spiritual successor to the E46 M3 in terms of size and in terms of how fun it was to drive, because M cars just keep getting bigger and bigger. And with this one, I was slightly concerned because it's grown in size and weight, but it has lost none of that M2 or M3 spirit. It's a lot of fun to drive, it's very playful. They've really programmed the car to be slightly more aggressive than the M4, and I would say it fits kind of halfway in between a G87 M4 and a CSL in terms of its feel. We also own an M4 CSL, and I've done 2,000 miles in that car, including some track days. And they've definitely engineered this car to have its own spirit. So they've done that in a couple of different ways. With the gear change, when you put it into manual, they've almost made it feel like a DCT gearbox. So it's got some aggressive shunts, and the CSL takes that a step further. And we did notice that in the G87 M2 40i X-Drive. I was really impressed with how they made that car feel slightly more aggressive just with the software changes they had made. In terms of the suspension, the ride quality is pretty good. I would say it's slightly stiffer, or at least a little more jittery on these B roads, but that may be down to the fact that it has a shorter wheelbase than the G87 M4, but it's not uncomfortable by any means. This is a car that you could easily commute in on a day-to-day basis. Stick it in D, it's got all the mod cons that you would need, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. I love the iDrive 8 system. It took me a little bit of time to get used to not having the climate functions, and for me that's the only negative, that I have to go in to turn heated seats on. And then when you want to have some fun, you put it into sport. The valves open on the exhaust, it sounds slightly fruitier. It's got overrun burbles, the dampers stiffen up. It's just a dual personality car, and I think from an M2 that's what you want. You want to be able to commute in the car if you want to, and then when you get a chance to get some B roads, you can absolutely have fun with the car too. We're a few hundred miles into ownership of this car now, and on B roads like this I prefer having the dampers in the softest setting, because these roads are quite bad in terms of the surface undulations. What I've also noticed is the MDM is programmed quite aggressively, so when you have an MDM mode and it allows you some slip on the rear wheels before it intervenes, it actually allows quite a lot of slip. And what can you say about the rest of the drivetrain? I mean, it is G87 M4 rear wheel drive, so in a slightly smaller package it just works really well, and it was true of the F87 as well. We had an F80 M3 at the same time as the F87 M2, and although the drivetrain is identical, the M2 was always more fun to drive, and it's the same with this. Has so much grip as well. So we've gone from the M racetrack pack, so it has the carbon buckets, carbon trim, carbon roof, and it has Cup 2 tires, which when it's dry like this, once you get a bit of temperature into them, has plenty of grip. And as you can see, this road is quite bad and it's handling the bumps pretty well. Again, as I said, slightly stiffer than the G82, but nothing to complain about too much. And surprisingly, for a car that still has its CAT and OPF in place, it sounds pretty decent. And after you've had your fun, you put the car into D and you can cruise around in complete comfort. The interior is a massive step up. So with the F87, the interior was 1 series. In this car, the interior is 3 series. and that jump has made this car a lot more refined. When I'm looking around, I just feel like I'm in an M4, which is no bad thing because BMW have really stepped up the interiors in all of their cars recently, and that was a big complaint in the F series chassis. I'm really looking forward to taking this car to the Alps in September. I've taken my F87 twice now, and it's absolutely my favorite car to take on those windy mountain roads, so I'm looking forward to see what this is like. I thought the G87's biggest problem was going to be the F87. Even in standard form, this is a great car, looks fantastic, handles really well, and in a lot of ways was better than the F87 M3 for me. Taking this car from completely standard, brand new, to where it is now into like a GTS spec, I built this car exactly how I wanted it. The G87, it didn't disappoint in the way it drove. It looks a bit weird to some people. I think I'm still getting used to it, but it has a lot of potential. As you can see, we've already lowered this car. We'll share more details in the next video on this, but if you're excited about this project, please do like and subscribe. It's going to be a project like the F87. That turned from a project car into a development car into a long-term car, and I hope I'm going to keep that car for a very long time. Is a G87 going to go the same way? I'm not too sure, but I'm looking forward to the journey. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you liked the video, please remember to smash that like button, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. If you want to join the conversation, please drop a comment below and we'll try our best to respond to you. If you want to watch more of this project, you can do so over here. If you want to watch what YouTube thinks you might like from our other content, you can do so over here.